I played 24 hours of Cobblemon, a new Pokemon mod in Minecraft that's a lot different than pixelmon. New models, different UI, and crazy interactions. For example, I can shear this Wooloo and get wool, or I can put this Pidgey on my shoulder and get slow falling too. It's a whole different way of playing Minecraft with Pokemon. So I spent 24 hours on a survival server with me and my Twitch chat with the goal to catch and learn as much as I can about the world of Cobblemon. First, I had to make the biggest decision I had on the server, my starter. I chose Trico, and I quickly collected basic materials, and since spawn was luckily at a village, I didn't have to worry for food. This was still a survival Minecraft server, so I had to focus on getting materials to catch Pokemon in the first place. I went mining immediately, collecting the main materials from Pokeballs. I collected copper, iron, coal, and even a sunstone. Evolution stones can be found throughout the wild, and I'll need a bunch for all the Pokemon. Set up a base on a hill next to spawn and had enough materials to craft some Pokeballs. For basic Pokeballs, you only need 4 apricorns and 1 copper ingot, and you get 4 Pokeballs for the apricorn color. They perform just like normal Pokeballs, but the mod made it easier where there are Pokeballs for every color of apricorn. I was also able to make a healing machine to heal up my Trico from previous battles, and now I was finally able to catch some Pokemon. And my first Pokemon was a Zubat, which isn't the coolest Pokemon, but it was a start. Hour 2, I planted my first apricorn seed, which at the start are pretty hard to find because they only have a 10% drop rate from harvesting an apricorn. And since I had some bone meal, I was able to grow my seeds into trees and get even more apricorns. I went on a little adventure and caught a Rattata and got some black, yellow, and red apricorn seeds, expanding my tree farm even further and allowing me to craft some normal Pokeballs. And since I had some gold from mining, it allowed me to also make Ultra Balls pretty early. And with all these balls I made, that was the start of me catching a lot of Pokemon. I was catching everything I didn't have: Spearow, Maractus, Caterpie, Wooloo. And the good thing about Cobblemon is you don't really need to level your Pokemon to start like in normal Pokemon games. For example, this Joltik I just caught is way higher level than my starter, and I can just train my Trico by using that Pokemon instead. Next I capture this Doduo and this Lickitung, and I continue to catch a lot more Pokemon: Cubone, Psyduck, Ekans, and the Spearow, which were all pretty cool. But then I saw this Arcanine. It was level 39 and by far more powerful than any Pokemon I caught so far. Also, Cobblemon separates Pokemon into 4 different rarity tiers on their spawner list. I don't know, I got this from their Discord, so take it with a grain of salt. They can be common, uncommon, rare, and ultra rare. All the Pokemon I have other than my starter have been common Pokemon, and this Arcanine is an uncommon Pokemon, and 3 times the level of most of my Pokemon, so this was huge. I had to use a decent amount of Ultra Balls, but I finally caught it. This Arcanine made fighting Pokemon way easier. I then started catching higher level Pokemon like this level 34 Dodrio, level 37 Sandslash. Also, I evolved my Lickitung into a Licky, which is pretty awesome. Hour 3, I found a bunch of Pokemon in the jungle: Morlul, Beedrill, Geodude, and I also caught Arbok, which is actually pretty cool in this mod because they added all the different patterns for Arbok. I don't know, I thought it was pretty neat. And after, I caught a bigger sheep and crafted a lot more Pokeballs. And with those Pokeballs, I caught a level 44 Galvantula and a high level Raticate. At this point, almost all of my team was over level 30, and I haven't trained any of them yet. Speaking of training, later I'm going to get an item that increases EXP gain by 3 times. I can use this item to train my starter and all the other Pokemon that I need to evolve. And also, if you're enjoying this video, I would appreciate if you caught that subscribe button. Okay, just subscribing would be awesome. Thanks. Next, I went on a bit of an adventure, found a Bidoof. Sorry, I just had to point that out. And another cool thing while I'm in the water about Cobblemon is some of the Pokemon have really unique water animations that add a lot more character. Afterwards, I caught a Bellsprout, farmed some Enderman, and caught an Oddish, Shiinotic, Execute, Ghastly, Tangela. Right now, I'm catching a lot of pretty common Pokemon, but later, finding unique Pokemon will get a bit tough. Hour 4, I went to a nearby river and caught a Goldeen and a Basculin. While I was riding on my boat, I saw Onyx. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, but you can kill Pokemon. And I'm not talking about Pokemon battles, I'm talking about taking your axe and collecting resources from these Pokemon. Some Pokemon drop resources, and I think all of them drop regular XP, which is pretty cool. Anyways, I found a new biome and it had a Grimer, Weeping Bell, Bounsweet, and afterwards I went back home and once more expanded the apricorn farm and created a lot more Pokeballs. And with those Pokeballs, I ventured out and caught a Kangaskhan. I think it's good to point out in this mod, a lot of Pokemon aren't in the game, and all the gimmicks like Mega Evolution and Dynamaxing aren't in the game either. But according to their Discord, they want to add more in the future, so we'll see. Anyways, after that, I went mining to get some diamonds so I can get to the Nether. There are a lot of resources I need in the Nether, and there are also some Pokemon that I can get pretty easily in the Nether that I don't have yet. I ended up pretty far away from my base after mining and caught a lot of Pokemon while I was out. Mostly water Pokemon, but I think the highlight was this level 41 Gyarados and this little Elekid. Hour 5, I did a little more exploring and I found this Rapidash. And I know I've been praising this model a lot, but some of these models are a bit goofy. Some flying Pokemon have no flying animations, and this Rapidash and other fire Pokemon just have these static flames that look really silly sometimes. After admiring Rapidash, I found Taiga Biome, and the first thing I saw was a level 47 Mamoswine. It had takedown, so I had to be a bit careful, but I was able to catch it with some of my Ultra Balls. And I will say the hitboxes are hard to find sometimes on these Pokemon. Anyways, after Mamoswine, I made my way back home and caught a lot more Pokemon, like this Pachirisu for example. Also this Torkoal, and this Kricketot, Slowbro, Pyukumuku, and one of my favorite Pokemon, Seedot. Hour 6, I got back to my base and was able to make a lot more Ultra Balls, and later went mining one more time to get some obsidian from my Nether portal. Later I entered the Nether, but I got a really bad spawn, so I didn't do too much there yet. I took some time to rearrange my team with the highest level Pokemon I had, and all my Pokemon were above level 40, which is pretty nice in Pokemon for not doing any training. After checking my team and my items, I went on a long journey to search for some new biomes in order to obtain some new Pokemon. At the start of it, I found a Poliwhirl, Yanma, Golduck, Seeking, Tentacle, Sawsbuck, and a lot more Pokemon. Also, a funny thing that I found that you can do is when you put your Pokemon out, you can lead it into your boat, which provides for some funny interactions. Like, look at my derpy Rapidash in the boat with me. Anyways, I arrived back home and created a sugarcane farm for my future enchanter, but when I was crafting Pokeballs, I found a very important goal. A EXP share. It required a lot of materials, and the ones I didn't have were glowstone and prismarine crystals. So I went to the Nether to get some glowstone. But there were a lot of Pokemon I didn't have yet, like this Coughing, and oh yeah, this level 49 Gengar. Hour 7, I caught a Haunter, a Magby, and a Durant, and made my way to the ocean to get some prismarine crystals. I found a Plusle, Nidoran, Shelder, Staryu on the way, and I found a couple of ocean structures while I was traveling, but after checking out this stone break one, I found some sea lanterns on it, which provided enough crystals for 2 XP shares. Hour 8, I ventured into the Nether and to try to find a fortress, and I learned how great this EXP share was. Like, why are the Pokemon that are doing nothing and gaining so much more than the Pokemon that did the work in the battle? I was able to evolve my Trico almost instantly, and although there isn't an animation for evolving, I was still pretty excited to see how the models looked. Also, while I was in the Nether, I found a level 50 Centiskorch, which is the highest level Pokemon I've seen in the wild thus far. Also, I should go over how fast you can fight Pokemon in this game. Sadly, there are no trainers you can fight, but fighting a wild Pokemon is super fast. You click R on the Pokemon, select a move, and click R again, and you're done if your move was a one-shot. This made taking out Pokemon super efficient, and I was able to get really high level Pokemon by the end of this 24 hours. I searched for the Nether for even longer, and I was able to follow my Grovyle into a Sceptile, and this Pokemon instantly became a stable to my team. Hour 9, I started training my Pokemon even more. I went to a nearby jungle and started taking out a lot of stumps in hopes to get some more Pokemon spawns, but I was also training my Sceptile and other Pokemon I wanted to evolve at the same time. And while doing this, I found another Onyx, and although it is sticking through the ground, it isn't suffocating this time, so I was able to get it. Also, another cool part of this mod is that you're able to relearn past moves at any time, and the system and the UI this mod has is pretty clean. So I did that for all my Pokemon, getting the best moves I could. And afterwards, I continued to train and catch more Pokemon. Like, look at this Scyther I caught. Next, I went into a forest looking for a very important Pokemon for this run. But I also caught some other Pokemon like this Deerling, Machop, and something else I didn't expect. Something that I didn't even know existed in this mod, and one of the rarest types of Pokemon you can get, a shiny. I found a shiny Caterpie. I even learned it only had a 1 in 8,192 chance of spawning. Also was even an advancement for it too. And as soon as I caught it, I was able to evolve it into a Metapod, and then a Butterfree right away. This was definitely one of the highlights of the playthrough. Hour 10, I continued searching the forest looking for more Pokemon, finding a Machoke, evolving my Pidgeotto to a Pidgeot, and also a Machamp. I temporarily gave up on the Pokemon I was actually looking for, and went back home to finally finish my enchanter. I instantly got an Efficiency 4, Fortune 3 pickaxe, went to the mines to get some more gold for Ultra Balls, and I also got 13 more diamonds in the process. After the mines, I tried making this sandstone platform to catch my Sigilyph, because apparently they spawned on crafted sandstone, but yeah, that didn't really work. If you guys know, let me know how to get that one. I was able to level up my Sceptile a bunch though, getting it to almost on par with my strongest Pokemon. Hour 11 was mostly gathering apricorns, crafting Pokeballs, and working on the field platform, but I eventually gave up and went out on another adventure. I found my first Wigglytuff, Shiftry, Crobat, and started to evolve more Pokemon like my Nidoran female. But the most important Pokemon I caught while I was adventuring was the Pokemon I was looking for all this time in the forest, this Pichu. Pichu might not seem like much at first, but it provides a really cool buff in Cobblemon. He hops on my shoulder. Look at him. There's a feature where you can put small Pokemon onto your shoulder, and Pichu gives speed boost too when you do this, which is pretty broken when the main thing I'm doing this mod is traveling around. In not even 10 minutes after the Pichu, I found something even crazier. I found another shiny.
Wait, what? No way!
A shiny Krabby. I don't know what was up with this Minecraft session. I caught a shiny Caterpie only about 2 hours ago, and this was by far the most lucky I will be in this video. And shortly after, I evolved my golden crab into a green crab. It was now hour 12, which meant I was halfway through my first playthrough of Cobblemon. I felt pretty accomplished, but there were still a lot of Pokemon I need to get in other biomes and dimensions. Later I caught a Pinsir, Tangrowth, and even this Cleffa. Also I evolved a few Pokemon and leveled up a ton. Sceptile and Butterfree were about level 60. Hour 13 I finally found a bigger Taiga and Glacier biome, which had a lot more Pokemon I didn't have. Weirdeer, Swinub, Seal, Ice-Cube, Dugong. Also I evolved this Cubone and this uncommon Emolga, which was really cute. And while I was searching around, I found this rare Spinda as well, which I was really happy about. Hour 14 I found a mushroom biome, which was really cool to find, but really the only Pokemon there was Paris and Parasect, which I didn't have, but that immediately got triumphed by this rare Lapras that spawned in the Glacier biome right next to it.
Oh my god, Lapras. It's a rare spawn. Look at it.
I didn't see another during this playthrough, and I was really happy to get this Lapras. It was even level 51 too.
Right in the bum.
After Lapras, I went back to the mushroom biome to see if anything interesting was there. Nothing too much, but I did find a Mawile, which was actually pretty neat. I don't think it was because of the mushroom biome, but I don't think I would find one otherwise, so it was still cool. I'm in my way back home, which was very far now, and I caught a Slowking, a Sharpedo, a Piloswine, and grinded some more Prismarine shards for some more EXP shares. Hour 15, I caught a Whalmer, a Nidoran male, and I was told by my friend Laika on the server where a swamp biome was. All my time searching on the server, I couldn't find one, and it had a bunch of different Pokemon I haven't caught yet. But on my way to it, I found a volcanic biome, I don't know, a hot rocky place, and it had a lot of cool Pokemon. I immediately found a Riolu, Magmar, Magmortar, actually just the whole Magby line, and some emeralds. Hour 16, I was almost to the swamp, catching Fortress on the way, really rare Ditto, and the Lopunny. Anyways, I found the coordinates of the swamp, and I found so many new Pokemon. Mismagius, Muck, Venonat, Sneasel, Murkrow, Lotad, and Wooper. Wooper was one of the main Pokemon I came here for because Wooper is another one of those Pokemon you can put on your shoulder, and Wooper gives water breathing, which I thought was really cool. Also, Wooper is pretty cute, and come on, everyone likes Wooper. So yeah, that helped with my motivation. Hour 17, I continued in the swamp and caught this Tatsugiri, got a big boy Wooper, and for my last Pokemon I stayed a while longer and got another Tatsugiri, but this time it was Droopy. I left the swamp, and on my way back I found my first rare or ultra rare Pokemon, Eevee. It depended on the biome if it was rare or ultra rare, but it was really cool because all the evolutions and star Pokemon are listed as ultra rare in the wild, so I was really happy to get this. Hour 18, I found a pink sheep. I don't know why I mentioned that, it's a rare thing on its own I guess. And I made my way back home. I was pretty satisfied with all the Pokemon I caught so far, and the common Pokemon were running pretty low. I did find a Victory Bell though, but what I haven't said yet during this journey, I and other members on the server have been finding a lot of evolution stones, and at the end of this video I'm going to use almost all of them on the Pokemon I have. For example, once I got to my base, I used a Sunstone on my Gloom for a Blossom, and a Waterstone on my Staryu for a Starmie. Hour 19, I was back at my base, and I decided to make another trip to the Nether. And I died immediately. I was starting to get pretty impatient with my nether spawns, and my first death on the server set me back a little bit. So I made some new gear and went back into nether and just started mining and running around in a random direction. It took me about 30 minutes, but I found the fortress. And let me say, this fortress spawn was pretty weird. It generated not how you would expect in this biome, and the lava was kind of everywhere. I was able to get blaze rods pretty quickly, however, and made my way back to my base. Hour 20, I immediately went to look for the end portal. There was a Pokemon that only spawned in the end that I wanted to catch. It took a little bit to find it, and I jumped in. But my main mistake was coming unprepared. I had no bow, no water bucket, and I didn't even set my spawn. I did destroy a lot of the end crystals, but this happened. That happens? You know, it's been a while since I beat the dragon. Okay, since I was back at spawn, I called for help from a server member named Josh, and after a lot of beds, we killed the dragon. I killed it! And I did all of that for one Pokemon, Eligium. I barely remember that this Pokemon exists, but it was one I didn't have yet. And after being the dragon, I ended up looking for End City for a bit. But got impatient knowing time is precious in these 24 hours, and it was now hour 21. My time on the server was running low. I still wanted to find another starter and level up my Pokemon as much as possible. I was evolving a lot of Pokemon as well. This Lotad into Lombre, Venonat into Venomoth, Legium into Vehelium. Yeah, I was evolving a lot of Pokemon. Hour 22, I went to a little island to farm Pokemon levels because Gyarados were really high level and pretty common to spawn there. Also, I had my water-breathing Wooper, which made going through the ocean even easier. I eventually got bored, so I ventured around many biomes and got something unbelievable. I found my first ultra-rare starter Pokemon, and it was a popular one, Blaziken. In my whole 24 hours, I was looking for starter Pokemon with no luck. The only problem was I accidentally one-shot it.
I gotta make sure to catch this.
Yeah, I was pretty upset about that. I misclicked Air Cutter for Sleep Powder on my Butterfree. I don't even know how I did that. I think I was just really excited, but my only hope for a starter was gone. Now after all that, it was already my final hour on the server. At this point, I pulled all the stops I had in before. For example, I found a bunch of apples in this village, and I took damage until my hunger was lower so I could eat the apples. What does this do exactly? A new addition to Cobblemon is when you eat an apple, there's a 2.5% chance of receiving a leftovers, which is a Pokemon item that regenerates your Pokemon's health each turn, and I just wanted to have it. And since I wanted a quick way back to my base since I was so far out, I used a neat trick. I gave my essential items to my Pokemon, and when I died, they were still holding them for me. And combined with a PC, which can hold almost all your Pokemon, all the items I was holding, like some evolution stones for example, would be transferred. So I went back home saying my goodbyes to other server members and doing some final evolutions. My favorite was this Wailmer, because if you know Pokemon, Wailord gets, he gets big. I did other evolutions like Murkrow to Honchkrow, Nidorino to Nidoking, and I even made my Eevee into a Glaceon.
What happens if you used more than one? Oh wait, you can choose if you do that. Look, I can choose the evolution. Glaceon.
And with that, I spent 24 hours in Cobblemon.